Yo, welcome back to the third episode of Wood Dragon Alchemy Radio. I'm Jake, your host. Now, before we move forward, I want to circle back to where we last left off, right? In episode 2, the science of energy, movement, breath, and the body's codes, we explored the language of the body itself. We began to see how the body speaks to us, right? Through sensation, through rhythm, through charge. And how learning to listen to it changes literally everything. We discovered that energy isn't something mystical or even distant. Energy is the intelligence that animates everything, right? It's in the rise and the fall of your lungs when you breathe, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the silent communication between every single cell and every single thought. We spoke of coherence, the dance between the brain and the heart, and how alignment isn't something we find, right? But rather, it's something we generate. Through breath, through presence, through the quiet recognition that the body is always listening to you. Always. Let me reiterate, it's always listening. The truth is, I believe we're conductors, vessels of light, intelligence, and vibration, wired for wholeness, completeness. See, even the word human can be broken down, right? Hu means a form of light, and man means manifestation, right? So then that brings us to the definition of light manifested in the body, in the physical form, here in the 3D world. And now, as we step into this next space together, we go deeper into the emotional landscape itself. Because when you move with awareness, when you breathe with intention, when you treat your body like a temple of energy rather than just some machine to control, something profound begins to awaken. Well, at least for me. And, that awakening, that reconnection, if you will, is what opens the next doorway. Because once you understand how energy flows, you start to feel its language much more deeply. And that language, well, it's emotion. See, today we step into that terrain where feeling becomes frequency and every emotion reveals its medicine. Because, let me pose this. What if your emotions weren't problems to fix? But in fact, were doorways to a deeper wisdom. What if anger, grief, or shame, fear, they weren't bad energies, right? But in fact, messages from the body asking, screaming to be heard, to be integrated and transformed. So, in this episode, we are exploring emotions as medicine and how those invisible forces can quite literally shape our health, our relationships, and our own evolutions. Because emotion, when you break that down, quite literally means energy in motion. Emotion, right? And to further that, when we freely allow this energy to move, instead of staying stuck with the emotions, identifying with them, we allow them to pass and we heal, right? Think about it like this. Dis-ease, right? When you're unregulated emotionally, you are in a state of dis-ease, disease, right? Let's begin there. So, when I look back, man, I can see how my emotions once lived inside my body, quite literally like uninvited guests that had overstayed their welcome. Man. See, growing up, for me, was a constant state of stress. Chronic at that for me. I was always trying to perform. Trying to be good enough for everyone. Right? I don't blame my parents. They were young, still figuring out their life while trying to raise me as their second child at that, right? And somewhere in all of that, I learned that love had to be earned. And man, my body carried that story for a long time. For a long time. See, it appeared as IBS, acid reflux, stomach pain, right? It's ironic, all these adult symptoms living inside of a child's body. And at the time, I didn't understand it, right? I was a child, but man, now I do. Now I know better. See, those weren't random health issues. They were emotional ones. My nervous system was locked in a sympathetic state, in a state of survival. See, I believe polyvagal theory helps explain this quite beautifully, right? When we don't feel safe, and I don't mean just physically, but emotionally, the body shifts into protection mode, a sympathetically driven nervous system, where you're quite literally hypervigilant all the time. The vagus nerve, which, is the great regulator of your calmness and your connection, or the ability to build those things, it withdraws. You can no longer sense them. And you go from rest and digest to fight or flight, and eventually freeze. It's wild how emotions, when they are ignored, they do not, let me repeat that again for the third time, for those in the back, they do not disappear. No matter how much you repress, ignore, they just change form. They become tension within the body. They become fatigue. They become the body whispering to you, please listen to me. And over time, I learned that emotional alchemy, it's not about suppressing or even escaping those feelings, right? Because that will repeat and sustain the same cycle. Instead, it is about letting them complete the cycle, right? I believe every emotion has intelligence. Right? What do I mean by that? Anger, it shows us where a boundary's been crossed. Grief reveals where love once lived. Fear, it highlights what matters most to us. Shame reminds us of our innate longing for belonging, right? When we bring awareness to these states instead of judgment, the chemistry inside of your body physiologically changes, undeniably, right? Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, these endorphins, these neurochemicals respond to our perception, to our sense of meaning. And the more compassion and empathy we bring, the more our biology harmonizes. And here's the thing. When you take the time, you can quite literally feel that shift, right? I can't be the only one. It's not just psychological, right? It's electrical. It's physiological. See, our biofield, that subtle electromagnetic field around our bodies, actually changes when our emotional state changes. Researchers studying this, like Hammerschlag and others, they call it biofield physiology. It's measurable, it's real, it's quantitative. See, our hearts, they emit an energetic field made of electromagnetism that can expand and contract with emotion. So, when we say, raise your vibration, we're not speaking purely, metaphorically, at least not anymore. We're talking about a real measurable shift within the body, within the body's energetic signature, right? Let that sink in. That's what it means to let emotion be medicine. Awareness turns reaction into revelation. Feeling then becomes healing. So, in the spirit of being healed and healing, I want to take a moment of my time to show my appreciation for you, because without any one of you, my words would just be echoes in empty halls. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen and view this. I am beyond grateful. So let's talk about the Tao of emotion. In Taoist alchemy, emotions are seen as elements, movements of qi within the organ system. Anger lives in the liver, fear in the kidneys, sadness in the lungs, and joy, well, we all know this one, in the heart. worry, and your spleen. Each one serves a purpose, a season, a unique rhythm. The goal isn't to eliminate emotion, right? It's to bring everything back into harmony. In Neidan, the inner alchemy tradition within traditional Chinese medicine, they speak of refining Jing into Qi and Qi into Shen. It's the transformation of dense emotions that are heavy, weighing us down, and instinct into pure awareness and presence. So, when you sit with your sadness, or breathe through your fear, you are literally engaging in alchemy. At least, my alchemy. You're refining raw material into wisdom. That's how Tao meets modern science. Through the body's ability to transform chemistry with consciousness. So how do we do this, right? How do we let emotions move through us instead of hardening us? Well, I'm sure you know my answer, and I'm gonna say the first tool is always breath. Because breath quite literally bridges the body and the mind. It's the lever of the nervous system, right? I want you to try this right now. I want you to inhale for 4 seconds. Now hold for 3. Now we're going to exhale through the mouth slowly. Now we're going to hold again for 3 more seconds. That is 1 round of box breathing that you have just successfully completed. Right? Super simple, super ancient, and scientifically validated for those that care. See, you'll feel your heart rate slow. You'll feel your muscles unclench. And then your mind begins to clear, right? The second tool, presence, right? When a heavy emotion rises within us, I want you to sit with it. Don't rush to fix it. There's nothing to fix, only something to experience. Feel where it lives within the body. Feel the tension. Seek the markers out that we discussed earlier, right? I want you to give it breath. Breathe into that area. Give it attention. It's speaking to you. Now, let it unfold naturally and complete its natural cycle. Right? Because emotion completes itself when it's witnessed. Bear witness to yourself, to your emotions. And finally, expression. Write, paint, move, speak. Let the energy become form. Because form is how energy fulfills its purpose. And remember, we discussed earlier, emotions are energy in motion. Transmute that shit. You're stronger than any emotion you have. I promise. See, there was a point in my own healing journey when I realized that no supplement, no workout, no perfect diet was gonna fix what was emotionally wrong. I had to face the deeper story within myself. The one where I felt unworthy of love unless I achieved it. And when I started letting go of that, something really remarkable happened. Old injuries softened. My posture changed. I could breathe deeper. In fact, I felt physically lighter, right? And the more I released grief, guilt, and self-judgment, the more my fascia, my tissues, and my breath responded. As I softened, the world softened. It was like the body had been waiting for permission to heal, to be heard and seen, witnessed. That's the medicine of emotion. Not a cure, but coherence. So let's close with some reflections. So, I think it's safe to say that emotions are not the enemy. Not the enemy that we have thought they were for so long. Instead, they are the language of your inner alchemist, speaking directly to you. You just have to listen. Translating energy into insight, chemistry into consciousness. When you breathe through them, you're regulating electricity. When you feel them, you're reorganizing your biology. When you love them, you are restoring harmony. That is the essence of embodied alchemy. You live it. You feel it. You transmute it. So, maybe next time a big feeling rises up within you, instead of pushing it away or suppressing it or running away from it, you take the time to whisper back to it. You know, thank you. Thank you so much for showing me where I'm ready to heal. Because emotions are not obstacles. They are your allies. You need to reframe your mind. And sometimes, they are the very medicine we have been searching for, seeking out unconsciously. Let it sink in. But I want to leave you with a teaser for episode 4 now. The nervous system as a bridge between body and spirit. A deep dive, conversation into the nervous system as the bridge between body and spirit. Together, we will explore how regulation creates space for healing, for presence, and mystical states. A practical, yet, I hope, expansive dialogue. So, until next time, stay curious, stay embodied, keep your energy flowing, and peace be with you, my friends. Jake out.